Hey, welcome back to the table. So we had one question from the last video, and of course I should have found the card before I hit record. The question was, somebody drew a card that gives you a bonus during battle. And I said that it was for melee only, and they asked why would it not be for archery? And I looked deeper into it, and they make a point that it really probably could be for archery. I think it was the red player here. Nope, not this one. Oh, where did it go? There's a mercenary. Another mercenary, barbarian coalition. Well, here we go, tactics. The blue player has this. So you play it during a battle, and you either gain an extra black die or a +2. And it was, I was picking on the fact that it had battle round, right? And they thought that maybe this could be for the archery. And battle round is just a generic term, meaning it could be the archery phase or the melee, whichever comes first. Because you don't always do an archery phase. I think that's an excellent point. I didn't think about it. I really thought it was applicable only to the melee phase, and I did look up archery phase does let you have black dice and things of that nature. So my ruling on this is going to be it's going to be the first battle round, and that could include archery. So my apologies there. All right, so we're in the combat phase, and this is definitely the most lengthy part of the game, and it's, to be quite honest, it's also the most lengthy part of the rules. Now, when you're looking at these player aids, they give you like a nice summary of what's done during this phase, but then you have to like flip through. Like there's an entire page on movement, there's an entire page on combat, and that's normal combat, and then there's advanced combat, and then C movement in combat. And I guess that's it, for this player aid. For this one over here, it's getting into the similar type of detail. This one is also a little convoluted. I mean, it gets into the different things that can happen. But yes, you have to then flip through, and you're going to find pages that are, so I'm flipping actually quite a few pages through. I have to go 4 pages deep before I finally find the page on movement. And so yes, it has a movement section here, and stacking rules there. I did a quick glance. I don't know if one's better than the other. They're both annoying that I have to flip many pages through just to find the part that matters. But that's okay. I mean, at least it's all here, and the player aid is very nice. This does save you from having to flip through the rule book, which would be a lot worse. Okay, so the player order, of course, is barbarians first, and this player aid is really good at explaining it. Barbarians, then kingdoms and empires by decreasing age, and you break ties by looking at the nation card. So if we look at our ages here, you can see that the barbarians are, of course, they go first, and it is the Alemanni first, and I think it's the Franki, then the Ostrogoths, and then the Visigoths, but it's real easy to tell. The Alemanni has a 4, this is a 6, that's a 7, so they would go last, and then the Franki are a 5. So Alemanni, Franki, Ostrogoths, Visigoths. So it's going to be in that order. And then, yes, there is another barbarian here, but they're younger. So they would go last for the barbarians. So let's start with the Alemanni. We did this before in our previous playthrough, so it's going to make some sense. We have, that's this tribe here, and they're located on the map just north of Italy there. And we'll get a close-up of that in a second. But let's look at their card. They do have an ability to create a barbarian coalition, but it can't be played on turn 1 and 2. So I'm not sure what good that does. I guess they can hold on to it till later. If we look real quick, They do get an invasion this turn, and this is also on the timetable, but I really appreciate that they put it on here so you don't have to forget. So what does invasion mean? It means they get to move twice, attack twice. Basically, they get to take 2 turns. I can't think of anything in the rule book that prevents that language from just simply saying they get to take 2 turns. They go into all kinds of detail about you get to do this twice, you get to do that twice. It's like Oprah, you get a car, you get a car. The other thing is let's look at the victory points. They get 1 for Burgundy, Frank, Hun, or Roman eliminated in Gallia Septentrionalis. So it has to be a specific location, which is the northern France area. They get 3 victory points each turn. They're under a fetus, which is the Federati. And then 1 victory point for income of non-heretical Catholic province once. So once per game, they can convert to Catholicism and get income for their non-heretical Catholic provinces. On turn 3, they will get points for Lotharingia, and Agridecumenes, where they are located now. So they're already on that one. Austrasia and Burgundia. So they're basically trying to take France. That's the Alemanni here. So we know what their objectives are. The one last thing that I recommend that you do before you start, if you're playing solitaire like this, is get out the player aid and make sure there's no special rules impacting you. And of course, with this being the green player, we got to get the Huns player aid. And so, their stuff is not too bad. Let me check the next page. See, this is all victory points. And it's just how each of the nations that are controlled by the green player will score. So it's important, but it's not important for this phase here. What you want to pay special attention to are just the special rules for the green player. The Hun evasion is on turn 2, so we can skip this for now and not read it now. But it is nice to know that this is going to happen. The Horde and units, at the end of their military phase, this is another Hun action. The Alans are reticent vassals. They may roll the rebellion die twice, keeping the better result. So if the Alans are ever taken as a vassal, they will be have twice the chance to revolt. And then this is on turn 4 and turn 5. So again, we can ignore all that. Collapse or Empire, this is also relating to the Huns. And then we got more Hun Empire here. So basically, in a nutshell, the green player, all the special rules are relating to the Huns, with one small little snippet for the Alans, which are actually the yellow players, barbarians. But yes, the Huns could possibly take them as a vassal. So there's no special rules. This is really the takeaway I'm trying to get at here. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. And we've played this before. The barbarians are not very strong, especially up against the Romans. They didn't do well. We're going to try to do advanced combat, so that might make it different. I don't know. But the Alemanni, which is this particular tribe, they got their butts handed to them. How can we score points? Like I said, we got to eliminate units, and maybe that's the best way to score points. And what they're trying to do, let's take you to the tactical situation here. So what they're trying to do is they're located here, which is actually one of their victory points. They're trying to get this spot right here, Lotharingia and Burgundia, which is back here. So they're trying to break through this way. Now, crossing the river is going to be an issue, but I don't think they have a choice. They got to cross the river. Up here, you have a fortified city, which is great for looting purposes. It doesn't score them as many points. Like the actual territory they want is this one. And the last time we played, these guys successfully intercepted. So they were able to move 1, 2, 3 to intercept. And I think we're going to basically try to do that again. Because there is a chance the intercept will fail, but this leader here makes it really hard for that to happen. So the alemanni are going to try to move across the river and attack this limes here. The limes does stop their movement, and there is this thing called an overrun, where if they have a stack of 6, they, 6 to 1 ratio, they can overrun, which means there's no battle. They just automatically win. They can also do what's called a passage by force. So if they have double, so if this is 1 unit and they have 2 units have to stay behind for the battle, but anything beyond 2 can continue moving. The limes stops all of that. These forts prevent that kind of stuff from happening. So they can't just break through. They have to take out this fort. But here's the deal. That fort can get destroyed in just 1 battle. So, and then when that happens, they probably could do a passage by force. So let's just see how this goes. First things first, we're going to go ahead and take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And we're going to try to move into Lotharingia for battle. And yes, we could take the horde with us. It's part of the migrating. If you leave the horde behind, the part that gets a little wonky is if somebody were to conquer the territory with the horde, they can actually vassalize you. Now, these guys could try to intercept back to the horde. The horde does get a chance to flee. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. So you could theoretically leave that horde behind. The horde does nothing to help you with a battle. I think for lack of understanding the game, I am going to bring it along. And if we've realized that was a stupid move, I will just retcon it. Okay, so we're going to try to take on this limes fort. Now, because the limes fort is unattended, it's going to be destroyed. So they're going to do a check to see if they can intercept, right, and join the battle. Even if they succeed with the intercept check, this limes fort will be destroyed before they get there. Because the way the rules work is, you're crossing the river, you're attacking the fort, the alarm bells, are rung, the fire signals are sent, but by the time the troops get there, the fort's already been sacked and they've already fully crossed the river. So I'm not going to get a cross the river penalty because they have to do an intercept. Now, if they had troops actually in that location, the cross the river penalty would happen and this fort would actually be a defender in the actual combat. Now, the fort does get to do a D2 check to see if it does a pot shot hit before it's destroyed. So that much I know from the last time we played, but let's do the intercept check for this unit and this stack of units. We're going to move everything to intercept the alemanni. Okay, so what does intercept mean? How does that work? Oh, there's all kinds of stuff going on here. First of all, this is a really nice summary. I really appreciate this of the limes, and it says it stops all invaders when entered. They're kept separate. It can be assigned to hit as a defender, but if it's unsupported, which is a situation I was just explaining, there is no battle. It's immediately destroyed. Successful interception of an invader by Rome will not save it. So that's what I was just trying to explain. So even if they successfully intercept this particular attack, the fort will get destroyed before they get there. Thematically, it's pretty cool. I do like that rule of the game. It's a little fidgety, the rule, but I do like it. Okay, so from an interception perspective, so the barbarians just entered enemy. Oh, and by the way, the barbarians could have chosen to raid instead of this. This is an invasion for them where they get to go twice. I don't think a raid would be very smart. Because the raid is just, they pick 2 units, they do their raid, they roll that die, they look at the table, and then they just get to collect some money and run away. We're not doing a raid with them. Okay, so they get to immediately intercept with 1 leaderless stack and multiple lead stacks. So the leaderless stack, of course, is going to be that 1 single unit that was to the north of it, and then the multiple lead stacks is going to be the one that had Julian Julianus or whatever his name was. So we're going to designate them. We did. Stack that is under attack cannot intercept. Well, you know that. We got to do a land connection, and then we're going to roll a die and just compare it to this chart to see if they succeed. So we're going to start with the one that's just north. I think it's going to be near impossible for him to fail, but just to give you a lay of the land again, the one that's north is right where that fortified city is, and all he needs to do is move one space south. Okay, so let's roll our die. Oh, I rolled a 1. He may actually fail with a 1. Let's see. Okay, and let me make sure you guys can see this. So this same chart is actually on the other player aid, but like I said, for whatever reason, this one seems to me to be easier to read. But yeah, the other player aid has exactly the same thing, and yeah, we're good to go here. All right, so we're going to roll a d10, and then we're going to, of course, do a die roll modifier. And if it's greater than 6, they succeed. And with me rolling a 1, I'm actually in trouble. Let's. I was getting really cocky there, but I think the Romans might not be able to intercept. Okay, so the combat bonus of the leader. There is no leader on this one, so we don't use that. +3 if the target province contains the opponent's capital. It does not. If the opponent is an empire, +2. Let me look at the other chart because this chart looks wonky. Yeah, +3 if it contains the intercepting's capital, +2 if it's an empire. So this is actually supposed to be its own line here. So that is another line, and this +2 should be over here along with all these other modifiers. So this is actually it's just a mistake, but still, you could miss that. And so, yes, the opponent is an empire. It's the Romans. And remember, the opponent is, this is the part that gets weird. The opponent is from the perspective of the interceptor. No. The opponent is the person being attacked. So let's see, that province's controller may immediately intercept. If the target province contains the opponent's capital. See that? The opponent's capital. So it would make no sense if an attacker is attacking their own capital. So the opponent in this case is the attacker. Or the person who's doing the interception. My apologies. So the person doing the interception is an empire, so they're going to get +2. So that's now a 3. And then here's what's interesting. You see how this is worded this way? That's worded that way because the rule book is worded that way. But look at this particular sheet here. So this is the winner chicken dinner. That same thing we just deliberated. +3 if the target contains the intercepting's capital. See how he got rid of opponent? +2 if the intercepting is an empire. See how he got rid of the opponent language? He clarified that if it's the intercepting person, which is exactly the clarification we needed. So this table is superior to the other one. So yes, we get a +2. -1 if it's 3 paces, it's not. And a pace, by the way, is just a space. -2 if crossing a ridge or a strait, he did not. And we're not crossing Bosphorus. So he failed because he needed at least a 6. So he did not intercept. I'm actually quite concerned. So now we're going to roll for the next one. I rolled a 1 again. Oh my gosh, the barbarians are actually going to break through. We're definitely not breaking through in this one, and here's why. I'll show you. We are going to get +3, or I'm sorry, +2, so that'll put us to 3. And then the leader's top left bonus is 3, right? So 3 + 2 is 5, + 1 is 6. So we're at 6, right? However, they do have to march 3 paces, so that puts it down to 5. And they are crossing a ridge, so that would put it down to 3, and they fail as well. And let me just show you real quick. So, because I know your memory, if it's as bad as mine, you're not going to remember. So this is the stack, and then this 3 on the top corner is the +3 bonus that the leader gave, which is fantastic. But here you can see they're going to move 1, 2, 3 paces. That's what that means. And then this here is the ridge. So they're crossing a ridge, and that gives them a -2, and the 3 paces gives them a -1. So that basically negates the 3 bonus that the leader gave, and then the poor roll of a 1 means that we failed to intercept. So the barbarians are going to break through successfully, and that is crazy cray. That didn't happen in our first playthrough, and I wasn't expecting it to happen here, but they did it. So then what we do is this Lemus basically does a D2 check, and if it passes, it'll inflict 1 hit on the barbarians. Otherwise, they get it, the territory. So I'm gonna roll, and they do inflict a hit on the barbarians, but the barbarians recover at the end of a battle. So, so this hit does happen to them. Well, not the horde, but this hit does happen to them, but they'll get it back. And now the thing is with the hit is the Romans do score a point for that hit. So this is destroyed, and the alemanni also score a point for that. So let's deal with the point scoring thing real quick here. All right, so the Romans got 1 point for hitting that barbarian unit and killing it. And then this is what the green player, the alemanni, they got 1 point for destroying the fort, because that's considered a military unit for the Romans. So they got 1 point. So we're good to go there. That's all they got was 1 point each. Now, they do have control of the province. The province doesn't have any cities or anything, so there's nothing crazy to do there. And normally speaking, their turn would be over. Now, if they have a leader, they can do what's called a campaign, but they actually have what's called an invasion, so they get to go again. So we got to come back up here. And I think they do have a leader. The other thing we got to bear in mind is that there's 6 units here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think they're supposed to have a leader. Give me a second. I think I may have set the game up wrong. I'm pretty sure they have a leader. Yeah, Vadomaris is their leader. It's this guy. Okay, so see that little +2 in the bottom left? It means he gets to add +2 to his stack. So normally they can only bring 4. 1, 2. The stacking limit is 4. He gets to bring 2 more. Okay, and then because they're an invading barbarian, you know, they have the invasion keyword this particular turn, they actually get +1 to their stack because they're invaders. And then we're just bringing the horde along because it's the capital for them. What's interesting though is if they want to, like, they get points for controlling this territory, so they do need to like leave behind troops, you know, that are there. And so they took the territory that they want, and then by turn 3 they need this territory and that one. So this is a very interesting situation. If they invade, the Romans do get a chance to try to intercept again. So this particular territory, in order to maintain control, they would have to leave a troop there, but you're supposed to sort of call that before you do the attack. And I would have attacked with everything I had because I was worried about the Romans. So the deal is I would now, because of the invasion, I get to move again. So I'm going to try to move 1 troop backwards to there. And then I'm going to leave. Oh, this is a tough one. I'm going to leave the horde here in Lotharingia, and then the leader plus 3 more units. We're going to move into Burgundia to try to take that. So then what that does now is the Romans have to decide how do they want to intercept. So for example, this one could try to intercept here, which is a possibility. the problem is he has to cross a river, and then this guy could try to intercept here, and then he's got the same challenge of moving 3 spaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try to intercept here with both of these stacks. So let's do this again and see if we can intercept their leader. And remember, their leader then has a campaign that they could do, which means they get to keep attacking even more if they want. And I'm going to check the card real quick. Lotharingia gives them 5 victory points. Then Agridecumates, Austrasia, and Burgundis. So where's Austrasia? That's the only one that they haven't taken. There's Treveria. Austrasia is up here. So if they wanted to, they could try to push north, and then they would have all their victory points. But let's see if, first of all, we're going to do the one from the north. Oh, I rolled a 2. That's not much better. So I'm looking at the interception table again. They get +2 because it's an empire. That's 4. That's not enough. So they failed again to intercept. So that particular unit is staying there. Now we're going to try to do this big stack. And once more, it's moving 1, 2, 3, and it's going across a ridge. So it's going to get all the penalties. So there we go. They rolled an 8. So now that should be a success because the penalties is -2 for the ridge, -1 for the 3 spaces, but the leader gives +3. So those cancel each other out, and then they get +2 for being an empire, so that's a 10. That's way above the 6 that you need. So this time the Romans did intercept the barbarians. And so if I put the camera down, these units did successfully move to here, and yes, we are going to have a combat. So let me get out the combat sheets and make sure everything is appropriately in place. And we are going to do advanced combat, by the way. I felt that was more, I wanted to try it. We did the regular combat. There was a lot of just adding dice and changing dice. I want to try the advanced combat. And so I'm going to bring the camera back again. And you can see here, this particular player aid is very handy for this whole step. You have the interception phase, which is what we were trying to just do. And then they could flee combat. There's a firing phase. And then of course there's this here where you get all these dice roll modifiers, and then it even explains the siege at the bottom. But I'm gonna go ahead and use the player aid and put that to the test. Okay, so let's grab our units. And remember, this particular battle is in Burgundia. I'm saying that for myself so I don't forget where they were located. The leader itself is not going to participate in the battle. And then he has just 3 regular infantry. He's rather weak. And then this one is got an elite Palatinate cavalry, heavy cavalry. This has an elite cavalry, and this is an elite heavy infantry. So even though it's 3 versus 3, this is a very superior 3 versus 3. And okay, so I'm going to look at combat takes place in every province that has units of 2 unfriendly nations. It also occurs during movement as part of interception, which is what's happening here. And the active nation is the attacker and the other is the defender. So it makes sense. And each battle is resolved in turn. Okay, first things first. A side with 2 cavalry units more than its opponent, or 1 cavalry facing none, gets the cavalry advantage. So the Romans have cavalry advantage because they have 2 cavalry. The barbarians have none. Heavy advantage is the same, but just with the heavy units, and that's again 2 heavy units to none. So they have the advantage. So first thing that's happened is an archery round, which there are no archers. So we're going to skip that. So then we do attackers and defenders roll dice. hold on, I'm trying to skip through the archery round here. So now we do a melee round. So all units fire, and then attacker and defender calculate their DRMs. So I'm reading from this this other player aid here. So oh, interesting. It's saying +1 if +1 unit, barbarian unit in a barbarian province attacks one or more civilized unit. Boy, that's not written very well. Let me look at the other player aid that came with the game. So this is a DRM for the attacker. It says +1 if you're a barbarian versus civilized in a barbarian area. That's what that first one was trying to say. So this yellow sheet gets a fail. It was very hard to read and understand that, but that's what that meant. So we're trying to calculate the DRM for the attacker, which is the barbarian. They are not attacking a civilized unit in a barbarian area. That's not the case. So they don't get a +1 for that. They get a -1 if it's a marsh. And I know we didn't talk about the territory very well, but the Burgundia territory is green, which is clear. So there is no marsh in this situation, so no penalty there. They get a penalty if there's a forest. That's not the case. And that's actually the case if the defender had a barbarian non-nomad unit in a forest, but that's still not the case. -1 if all units crossed a strait or a river or a ridge, except if intercepted. So that's that intercepted rule I was telling you. They don't get that penalty because they safely made it across before the interceptors arrived. So the attacker gets no plus or minus. So the barbarians are just straight up rolling their dice. Now for the defender, they get +1 if there's a fortified city and +2 if it's fortified in an empire. That's not the case here. And then +1 if all units attacked crossing a strait. That's not the case either. And then there's what's called the tactical situation. And I'm going through a lot of this. So like this was the attacker section we went through. So now we went through the defenders. There's only 2 checks there. And then now we're looking at the tactics here. So you get +1 if you have 2 or more elite present, which the Romans do. So they're going to get a +1. And then Rome, they get a +2 for having 2 or more elite present. And I'm sorry, only if there's 4 or more elite. I'm sorry, that's what that means. So they only have 3 elite units. This is a double elite. Actually, that counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So they're actually going to get a +2. Okay. There's no nomad in a steppe. The cavalry advantage also goes to Rome. And then Empire versus Barbarian goes to Rome. And that bonus only goes to the Empire, by the way. And then -1 if the opponent has heavy advantage. So the Barbarians are going to get a -1. Okay, so that's how advanced combat works. Now, in the regular combat, we'd be adding white dice and converting them into black based on these different advantages, but this is how it changes. Okay, so I'm going to roll for the attackers. And I rolled a 7, okay? And now remember, there was no modifiers for the attacker. However, there was a tactical modifier of -1 because the opponent has the heavy advantage. So that 7 becomes a 6. And there's 3 of them attacking. So you go to the 3 column and then the 6, and you come across, and they basically inflicted 1 hit, okay? Now, there's the leaders actually can give rerolls, right? That's what this and this means. So you can force people to do rerolls and things like that. Give me a second. So the attacker can declare that their dice must be rerolled and roll them. The defender can do the same. And I know from reading the rules, even though I don't see it here in the player aid, the rerolls can also add a plus modifier. Like a leader can add. So 1/2 is rounded up only in clear, desert, or steppe. So when you see these little halves, that can be done. Leaders, I'm really amazed that they didn't put leaders in their rerolls on here. It's not just rerolls. Like a leader could actually use up one of their rerolls to give a +2 or a -2 to the actual die that's being rolled. I'm really surprised this player aid's missing that. Give me a second while I check. Okay, this doesn't have anything. So I'm gonna sneak underneath here and grab these papers, see if this one has it. It's a little annoying that that one wins and then the other one doesn't. And here it is. Oh, in naval combat, you can forfeit a reroll to gain a +2 modifier. Maybe I read it wrong. You know what, this player aid's saying the same thing. It's only in naval combat that you can do that. So interesting. How could I have misread that? I would swear to you that in advanced combat the rerolls. Here it is, option. A leader with a combat bonus of at least 2 may forfeit a reroll to gain a +2, plus or -2 tactical modifier for either side. It must be announced before any dice have been rolled. Attacker declares first. So if you have a combat bonus of at least 2, you may forfeit a reroll, but no more than once per melee round, to add a plus or -2. So that is in the rule book, and both of the player aids failed to point that out. So good thing I remembered that one. But you were supposed to declare it before the die is rolled. So what that was saying is that since this guy gets a +3 here, he could, have given them a -2 to their die roll. So do I want to force them to re-roll? A 7 is a pretty average roll for 2 dice, right? I can try to make them re-roll again, or the barbarians can choose to re-roll as well. That's the tricky part about this. And the number of re-rolls is for the entire battle. And remember, there's 2 melee rounds. In the basic combat, you only do 1 round of combat. That's it. Here you're doing 2 rounds. So we could choose to re-roll stuff here, but then you're using up your re-rolls for the next round. So as it stands, the barbarians are going to do 1 hit. And I think from the Roman perspective, they're going to let it go. But from the barbarian perspective, they're going to choose to re-roll. So we're going to go again. And they rolled much better. So they got a 9 this time, okay? And then they would get a -1, which puts them to an 8. So a 3, 8 gives them 1.5 hits, and it is a clear terrain, so it'd be rounded up to 2 hits. All right, so now Caesar's gonna use one of his re-rolls and force them to re-roll again. And now they rolled an 11. So the barbarians are very happy with that result. Caesar will use his second reroll. And they are back. This time they're at 5. -1 is 4, which is just 1 hit again. And so the barbarians, knowing they only have 1 reroll left, they're going to stick with it. 1 hit's going to be done to these guys, and so they're going to just take a hit on their legion. All right. So now these guys get to roll, and we rolled a crappy 4. Okay, so very poor roll. But if we apply the +2 for Rome, that would be 6, and +1 for the cavalry advantage, that's 7, and then +1 for Empire versus Barbarian, that's 8. So they actually get 2, 3, 4. They get +4. So even though that was a crappy roll, a 4, they added 4 more, they get to an 8. They also only had 3, and we looked up 8 before. That would be 2 hits on them. So Caesar is okay with leaving that be, because 2 hits on them takes 2 of their units out. So when we go to round 2, this is the situation. Now, they're no longer going to get a +2 to their die roll here, because the elites are only 2, 3 elites, right? This one is no longer elite. So the modifiers, you do recalculate your DRMs. And this is now, sorry, I have a ceiling fan on and it just took the whole page. All right, so let me put this up here. Okay, so we got to do another round. It's not like they can retreat from combat. They're in it to win it now, and the barbarians are in trouble. They only have 1 unit left, so they're going to go ahead and roll, and they roll a 7. Okay, so again, this is a respectable roll, but that becomes a 6, and there's only 1 unit left, so it's a 0. So they don't hit at all. So the barbarians are going to ask to re-roll. They're going to use their last re-roll, and they got a 6. So they failed to get that final hit in. And so now the Romans roll, and you can see here they got an 8. And what they should have done is before the roll, he could have asked for a +2 modifier as one of his re-rolls, but that's okay. This is 8 plus 3 is 11. And there's 3 units. If you roll an 11 with 3 units, that's 2.5 hits. The barbarians were completely wiped out. So they're going to have to retreat. The leader doesn't take damage. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, first things first. There were 3 units eliminated here. There was only 1 unit eliminated, and there was no units eliminated here. So 3 points for the Romans, nothing for the Alemanni. And that was sort of what happened in the first playthrough, is that basically the Romans scored a lot of points. So 1, 2, 3 points for the Romans, nothing for the Alemanni, and then Burgundia is not going to be taken. So now we do what's called a recovery phase, and that does happen. So each side recovers 2 eliminated units, and an eliminated elite unit, of course, comes back damaged. And what's interesting is this player aid's missing an important piece as well. I'm pretty darn sure that if you're an empire, oh, here it is, yep. Every civilized nation can restore, flip 1 unit. So, so basically what's going to happen is he's going to recover 2 of his units, but this one's dead. Okay, so that's going to be taken out, and we're going to put that back in his pool. And then this one, they would restore 2 units if there were any, and they get to flip 1. So this gets flipped back up to full strength. So let's put them back on the board, and you'll see sort of how this plays out. So in Burgundia, the Caesar is there, and then the barbarians with his 2, he has to retreat, so he's going to retreat to here, Lotharingia, and that would be the end of their invasion. So now they get to do what's called a campaign. And you can see this little 2 on the bottom right here. he gets to campaign twice. That means he can attack 2 more times. Now, with the campaign, I don't think he can... oh, I always forget. Can he move the horde or not? Hordes can only move by migration, moving together with all nations' units without attacking. So the horde actually would be back here. And that means this unit didn't need to go backwards. Oh, during an invasion, it can move like infantry. So yeah, during an invasion, it could have moved. So my apologies, I take it back. All right. It's a really confusing set of rules there. All right. There's a lot of retreat rules, but if you just make sure you implement common sense, they have to retreat in the direction they attack from. You can't like retreat forward. You know, they get to retreat up to 3 paces, so they don't have to go back just 1 space. They could go back 2 if they wanted. So there's things like that that you can use for your retreating and whatnot. But it's all, in my opinion, it's all common sense. So hopefully that's not too bad. So what I'm looking for is the campaigns, and I found it. Okay. So leaders have a campaign value, lower right. Leader in the stack can be redeployed anywhere within their territory, friendly territory. And you may collect or drop off as many units as you want, and then units from nearby provinces can move to join the leader. So basically, the leader gets to do some sort of movement. And what's interesting about this one is you see how the Romans intercepted. We could regroup back and then like attack into Venice or something like that. Like we can try to attack somewhere else and basically force the Romans to have to try to intercept again. So that's an interesting idea. It's in the wrong direction, but it's still an interesting idea. I honestly don't know what the right call is on this. So here's my, here's what's going on. He gets to do 2 campaigns. He can basically pick up all of his units and start anywhere within his territory, which is all 2 provinces, right? And then he can go any direction he wishes and have, you know, troops join him. So one of the thoughts is, of course, he can stay here and try to beat against this this shield wall here. Those are tough units. He's not going to win, right? His units just aren't strong enough. He could try to go this way, right? And in doing so, they have to intercept, and I don't think they can intercept through enemy territory, so they would have to go this way across a river. And it is a possibility that they'll fail to intercept, and then they're going to go up against just 1 unit. That's a possibility. Or he can just regroup here and then attack this way, right? And try to get this little area, which isn't worth very much, but it would force them to try to do an intercept, 1-2, and I'm going to make a ruling that that's not a ridge in between there. So the intercept would actually be a lot easier for them to do, and it's not in the right direction. So they do get points if they take this territory up here. So yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to do a campaign here. And, we get to magically, pick up pieces and I guess move them around or whatever. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to go against that unit. Now it is defended. So this Lemus will actually be a part of the battle. And that will help them. And now let's see if they intercept. They are not moving 3 spaces, so their intercept chance is a little better, but they only rolled a 3. He gets 3 more for being Caesar or Julianus or whatever, so that's 6. Then he gets 2 more for being Empire. That's 8. And then, boy, I'm going to need that. Here we go. This player aid is actually really good. So interception needs to be 6. So he rolled a 3, and then this would make it a 6. -1 for each non-adjacent province crossed. This is very different than the rules. This is supposed to be -1 if you move 3 paces. So this is saying, yeah, that's very different. Wow. How did that come in? That's not even matching the rules in any capacity. Interesting. So we did see, then this is ridge or straight, and the other one it's river. Boy, you can't even rely on this table, and it's written on the game board wrong too. Come on. That's frustrating. So now I got to go back and find the player aid page, which has interceptions, or go into the rule book. Or if I was really great, I would have a solid memory, right? Come on. Yeah, so -1 at the land distance is 3 paces. -2 for each ridge or straight. Oh, the river doesn't count. So I had that part wrong. So they don't get any penalty, actually. They're going to succeed. So this was a stupid move. The barbarians are just going to get thwomped doing this. But so now they're in a space with a fortified city, so they're going to do even worse. I know fleeing is an option if you are the defender. Can you choose to just retreat as the attacker? That would be my next question. And of course, I'm not seeing it. I'm not even seeing it at all. What am I missing here? Right here, flight. You may immediately attempt to flee, but that's when you enter an enemy province. Yeah, they're going to be stuck doing a battle here. And they're not going to like how this is going to turn out. Okay, so there's a lot of pages. It makes keeping things organized really difficult. But all right, so what's happening here is we have this unit here, and Alemanni is also there, and then this unit also intercepted. So they're even more powerful than the last battle. And they're going to have cavalry advantage, they're going to have elite advantage, they're going to have everything. The only thing different is it's in the forest. So the attackers get -1 if they're against barbarians in a forest, but these guys aren't the attackers, they're the defenders. So yeah, this is going to be a bit on the ugly side. So let's put these down. 1, 2, 3. Actually, we got 4 now instead of 3, so slightly more on the attacker side. But yeah, so the attackers are going to get... this is where the river is when you're crossing a river for this. But... yeah, they don't get any bonuses, the attacker. In fact, they're going to get a -1 because of the tactic here. The Romans are going to get +2 because they have 4 elite, and then 1 more for the cavalry advantage, so they're going to get 3. And then 1 more for the Empire versus Barbarian, which is 4, and they're going to get 1 more because there's a fortified city, 5. So they're going to get 5. Yeah, +5 for the Romans, -1 for the Barbarians. So we're going to roll for the Barbarians, and I rolled a 7. Okay, so -1 would be 6. They do have 4 attackers, so they get to use the 4 column instead, and a 6 would be 2 hits. The Romans, of course, have 3 rerolls. They're going to force the Barbarians to reroll, and they're going to use another one of their rerolls to give the Barbarians a -2. Okay, so they're going to use 2 of their rerolls. One to force this one to reroll, and then the other one to give them a -2. So the Barbarian is going to use one of his rerolls to cancel that -2, and then he's going to use another reroll to give himself a +2. Because he knows that if he takes hits by the second round of combat, he's not going to do as well. This is the round for him to do the hits. So he used both of his rerolls to cancel the -2 and to do a +2. And then he has no choice but to use his third reroll to cancel the +2. So now we're just rolling dice, and whatever happens, happens. I know that's crazy, but that's how the reroll thing works, okay? And you can only do it once per combat round. Oh, let me look at the rules. I may not be able to use both of my rerolls in one combat round like that. Give me a second. I think he can force a -2 and he can cancel the -2, and then we have to stop. I don't think he can use his second one to give himself a +2. And of course, this is only in the rule book. Yeah, no more than once per melee round. All right, so spending 2 to force a reroll and to force a -2 on him. He's spending 1 to cancel the -2. So now we roll. And we got a 6, okay, which would be reduced to a 5. And that would, with 4 attackers, be 1 hit. Okay, so the Romans are going to allow it through, and the 1 hit is going to be against the fort. So the fort's going to get clobbered. I don't know what I did with the, oh, yeah, the other one's off to the side. So that's 1 hit. And yes, you do get to count the fort as a hit in the battle when you're doing this. And now the Romans go. And the fort, by the way, or the limes, actually doesn't give an advantage in advanced combat. It does give an advantage in normal combat. In advanced combat, it basically just absorbs a hit, which is interesting. But okay. No matter what, it would get destroyed, by the way, because it's participating in the battle, and then the Romans get to build it for free during the purchase step. So 9 is what the Romans rolled, and that's going to clobber them. I mean, they get a +5, so they're going to have a 12, right? And they have 1, 2, 3, 4 units. The limes I don't think would have counted, or maybe it would have. So 4 units, that's 3 hits on them. And so, you know, he could force a reroll. Sure, he's going to use his last reroll. And so now we got a 5, which is better. That puts it to a 9. That makes it 2 hits. So 2 of his units go down. So now it's his turn to attack again. He rolls a 3, which is pathetic, and that's 0 hits. And then the Romans are just going to clobber him, and sure enough, everybody else is dead. He will recover 2 of his units. These 2 die, and I think his campaign needs to end. Oh no, actually it doesn't. Oh my gosh. That was the brilliance of this move. Okay, you're going to see a brilliant move that the barbarians did here. Caesar plus this unit, they do save the day, but they just put Rome at risk. And here, we'll show you why. The leader still gets one more attack, right? So they're here. They don't have the Limes fort anymore. However, two of the units do recover. And let's not forget, the Romans just scored 4 points. So even though the barbarians are going to get a little bit of a success out of this, they did give up a lot of points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The Romans are currently at 8 points. And the barbarians got nothing. Okay, so here's where it's going to pay off. He gets to do 2 campaigns. And remember, the rule of the campaign is he can pick any place and attack from there. So what he can do now is he can come here and just attack this fort here, or even march through and try to pillage that city. Now they can try to intercept 1, 2, 3, but if I march this way, I can attack Limes here in Taurinorum, and there's nobody to intercept me except for this unit here, 1, 2, 3. So the Romans have left northern Italy undefended. And if I attack down into here, this guy has no ability to intercept. He's too far away. That was the advantage of what we just did. I'm not saying that was intentional, but that is something you can do. The other thing they can do is they could just march this way through Bavaria and attack here at Carnuntum, right? That's a size 1 city that's completely undefended. And yes, we got this unit. This unit right here can march up and try to defend it, but it's 3 spaces away. So it's possible that he may or may not make it. That's really the option. Now the problem is the alemanni, it's just, it's not in the direction that they want to go. He could try to take Burgundia again, which means he could be intercepted again. And that's not something he wants to do. And I sort of feel like he has to do something because to do nothing seems to be a waste. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and just attack this one here. It's just a fort that we get to destroy, but that is 1 point for green. So they can at least get a 2nd point on the board. And the fort is just simply going to roll a D2 check. And it does pass. So they do hit and kill a barbarian. So unfortunately, at least for green, the Romans do score another point. But what they basically did is they now removed a fort from there, and that opens the way for other barbarian tribes to possibly come through later. So with that said, that was just 1 barbarian turn, and it took a whole hour. And that's this game. Now, this particular one had an invasion, which is extra long. I don't think the other ones are nearly as long as this, but anyways, thanks for watching, and stay awesome, stay healthy and safe. I'll be back in a few minutes to play the next one, which is going to be the Frankie. That one, the Romans are in control of. It's the red player. And the Romans do want to create a federati with them because if they can give the Frankie some territory in northern France, then the Romans don't have to move their troops up there to defend it, right? And then the Frankie can have the territory they want, and the Romans can still count it as their territory as well. They do have to pay a tribute or a federati fee, but it's well worth it because all those Roman troops can stay down in Italy and keep their defenses more solid. It's a really nice strategy, but the Romans didn't get the diplomacy card to allow them to do that. They got a sedition card and a graft card, but that's it. So they were able to cancel a siege, but there was never a siege against any of their cities, at least not yet. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.